Hey there, guys. This is Mallory, and this will be kind of a Paintisode Take 2. I did this Paintisode yesterday, and where I thought it was on mute, basically I got to the very end. At some point during the Paintisode, I had paused this or put it on mute so I could go blow my nose. Got to the end of the show, found out that my mic was still on mute. And then after I went and deleted it, people were telling me, well, no, it wasn't on mute. So first of all, a derp where I left it on mute, and second derp, apparently I was blowing my nose, and then you guys hear as I was hacking and all this stuff. So this is take 2. If you watched yesterday and you're live, hey, you get this kind of twice. Yesterday I was painting my Winter Argus, which is all painted now. Rawr, there he's all done. And I'll just paint more today. What is a Paintisode? A Paintisode is where you don't need to really be watching this. Go grab your paints, and we're going to be doing some painting together for about an hour. And then after that, I'll have some stuff painted. You'll have some stuff painted. I'll be yapping about War Machine things and having some fun. My throat is getting worse and worse and worse. I think I have some like sickness of the lungs. I had that a little while ago. Had some antibiotics. It almost cleared it all up. And now it's coming back with a vengeance. So we'll see if I need to go back to the hospital or what. But either way, something geez, sorry guys. Something that made it so I couldn't start this right away is that there was kind of some big news in the community over Chain Attack. And that is the whole fact that Scott Ray is leaving Chain Attack. Now, the reasons for that are a couple of fold. I mean, for a while, he's always been the salty one of the group that was kind of upset with the game. And, you know, that's why we loved him, was because he was so salty and so overly negative with the game. But I guess he's gotten a job offer as well, so we'll be moving on and doing that. And so at the same time, while he's transitioning away, he just thought this was a good time for a break because, geez, maybe I should call this a cough-isode. Anyway, in the past, he's been wanting to take a break, but you can't really take a break when you're part of a weekly podcast and you're part of a very active group like Chain Attack. So he's going to take this advantage to take a break. He does plan to come back later on, but yeah, it's kind of too bad. You know, one of those personalities moving on. It's one of those things where I can kind of relate in a way, you know, with how I kind of changed over, although I didn't like leave the whole gaming community type thing. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see him go. The new guy they have on there, Josh, is actually a Minions player, so that should be an interesting new view that they have on there. But yeah, it should be interesting. Now that we're past that, so yesterday, like I said, I painted a Winter Argus, and then I went and I played a game with Chromac. And it went fairly well. I really am starting to get the hang of Chromac, really starting to like him. And I figure I should try and get those lists painted. I really, if I went to a tournament, my 2 lists going in currently, because I mean, I don't really play Bradigus or Epic Morvana or that stuff. My 2 lists would be Chromac and Baldur 2. And so after I played that game and I saw that Chromac is still not painted, and my Gobbers aren't painted, and my Skinwalkers aren't painted, and then on the Baldur 2 side, Baldur's not painted and Megalith isn't painted, I decided to try and focus on that. And the funny thing is, I mean, here's all the models I use, and then what I paint a Winter Argus. And I think I have literally never used this model. I don't think I have ever used it. And here it was like, yeah, why not? We'll paint it up, mainly because it's going to be fast and easy. But yay, it's done. But who really cares? Because I never use it anyway. Meanwhile, here I have like the Moonhound. Yeah, me next. No. I was actually trying to make some lists with the Moonhound where I had like 5 purebloods. Yeah, screw you and your 4 Ravagors. I'm going to go with 5 purebloods. And the idea is I could fit in Epic Kaya with Laris. I would have 5 purebloods and 2 Moonhounds. And the whole idea is that the Moonhounds can run up and basically mark their targets. And then Kaya can feat, and then I can go up, spray to hell everything, and then they'll be coming back to her, right? And you know, then after that big alpha of super sprays, maybe an assassination, then I get to do it again. I mean, I probably lose my Moonhounds, although they're not the easiest things to kill, right? I mean, they got defense 15. I could put forced evolution on one, make it defense 17, and make it crazy. So I don't know. Interesting idea. I have also started on Megalith, so really just did the gray, you know, primed them and got them gray. Next step is to paint all the wood. And at first I really thought with this, I was going to be doing the lettering as well, because if you look in the stone, there's all the engravings in there. But to do that, it's not, whereas the armor is really set and indented in the model, so it can really have that difference. Some of this stuff here is the slightest indentation. And so I'm really worried that if I try doing the layers of paint, then I'm really just going to cover up the detail. So I'm actually thinking that other than like the main areas, say like, you know, the big crystals on his arm and stuff, and for his eyes, I'm probably going to be leaving that green out. And to be fair, that's what I do with my other stone. Well, no, that's not true. That's not what I do with the other stones. But it's just, I just don't want to wreck it. So the other thing I'm going to start on is I've also been doing my Belarus crew. And the Belarus crew, again, it's in all my Chromac lists. They're a great thing to have in all of other things. And so I just did the first color, made them brown. So I'm trying to decide now whether I want to be doing the Belarus crew or whether I want to be doing Megalith. Belarus, I mean, or Belarus crew, like, see, coming as an Orc and Goblin player, these guys are kind of like goblins, so they have that going for them. And for the most part, looking at them, they should be fairly easy. So I think I'm going to be doing them. Megalith, another day. Rodderhorn and Razorwing, another day. Again, model so cool. You know, look at me. I got talons everywhere. But I've never used them. So, with that, and I think I've coughed. We should do like a drinking game. Every single time Mallory coughs, take a sip. You might want to warn the hospital first, though, because it could be a lot. It wasn't this bad yesterday. You might have should have kept that one in the end. But we're going to go over now to the questions that were posted. And there's a fair number of them. And, of course, thank you to everyone who puts on the questions. Oh, they're in a different order today. I don't know why I did that. David Williams says, hey, what happened last night? And like I said, mix up with the mic, you know. Here, let me make sure I get this on screen. You would think, looking at this mic, that this thing here that says mute, and when I push the button so that it starts flashing and not being solid, that'd be muting, but apparently not. So lies abound. But either way, thought I screwed it up. Even if I hadn't screwed it up, you had to listen to me hawk and spit and blow my nose several times. Take a drink. And yeah, I thought I'd be better off just doing another one. So Stephen Walker says, so when I started Warmer Hordes about a year ago, I was doing pretty well and even went 5-1 in a 6-game tournament. I took a few months off to do a few fantasy GTs last year, and now that I'm back, I can't manage to win a game. Has the game changed significantly between last April to September, or am I just bad? Well, first of all, Stephen Walker, you are setting yourself up for me to slam you, but I'm not going to do that because there actually is a good reason of why you're doing worse. The first part of it is, of course, that this game changes dramatically. It's not like playing, you know, chess or something else like that where you can leave the game and come back and it's exactly the same. There is no difference. You just walk right into it. I mean, if you're just thinking like some of the major things have dropped over the last year, you are looking at things like Gorshay 3 and Bradagus. And I mean, like, these guys are game changers. And so if you left for a year and you're not used to playing against Bradagus, well, of course you're going to do worse. So there's the big one right there. The secondary one is that you said you left to do a bunch of Warhammer Fantasy GTs. And just like I found, is that these are both, War Machine and Fantasy, very competitive games that require a lot of concentration. And if you invest your time into one, it is lacking from the other. And so, especially from what you said, where you went to several GTs, you were pushing yourself to be at that top level of Fantasy. And in doing so, you let those skills go away with War Machine. You know, they're not games that directly link to each other. And so as you really focus on how you do your blocks and cast your magic and handle your magic phase and stuff, you just kind of, it's use it or lose it, right? So you didn't use it over here, and so you've lost those skills. Now, luckily, the way to fix it is you just got to play. Get back into it, get some games going, and you'll be fine. How long will it take? Really depends. But you're a smart guy. You'll be fine. So, I mean, don't get discouraged. Decide which way you're going to go, and if you're going to go with War Machine, just start getting those games in. And the wins will come. I mean, hell, you're playing Circle. Get that Bradigus. Learn what it is to have the power. Also learn that your stones don't double or triple teleports anymore. Well, you can, but if you do, you got to forfeit your action or whatever. So keep that in mind. Man, I almost miss painting this green. Here I am putting green on this guy, and it's like, it's just like the old days when I used to paint my hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of orcs and goblins. But anyway, there's your question, Stephen Walker. Next one, Chant Encounter, which is a larger one. Mal, read more. Mal, I started listening to Lang and Nathan on JD Gamercast after you had them on your show a while back. Take a drink. On their show, Nathan said he had started Signar Army recently. It'd be cool to see another crossover episode of you guys playing a game of War Machine or doing a hangout. Can you make this happen? Yeah, I'm sure we could. Now, Lang is actually in the same city as me, whereas Nathan is in Calgary, 3 hours away. Now, their podcast is great. I'll just plug them right now saying, if you are into 40K or Fantasy or Fire Armada, they are a great podcast for you to listen to. Now, unfortunately for myself, I did stop listening to them simply because it just wasn't applying to me anymore, right? I just did not play any Fantasy or 40K, and so it's just one of those things I let slide. But hey, we are still friends on Facebook. Nathan's wife, Terry, makes her shows there on That Terry Girl, and I believe she's also a Geek and Sundry vlogger. But, we're friends on Facebook at least, and I'm sure I could try setting this up. Now, I know for a while Lang was playing Crix. Whether he still is or not, I'm not sure, but I did confirm with Terry just today, take a drink, that she plays Kador. So if nothing else, even if I couldn't get Nathan and Lang, hopefully I could get Nathan and Terry. And there's also some very big Alberta events coming up rather. GrotzCon being their biggest tournament in Western Canada. And so makes sense that he would be going there. And I'll just have to see, right? If he's there, that's great. I'll get to play against him. I'll make a battle report, of course, if that happens. Otherwise, as far as doing a hangout or something, that should be possible. So there's that. Also, how does taking mercenaries with other faction go in War Machine? Are mercenaries that will work for your faction just looked at as something you can include in any list, or are there any situations you wouldn't be able to bring them? I am looking at picking up some Nis Hunters to go with my Crix. So here's the thing with mercenaries. First of all, in order for them to go in your list, you have to be allowed to do so. So on the Nis Hunters, they will have little things saying either mercenaries or minions. In this case, they're mercenaries, and they'll say who they work for. And Nis Hunters, one of the ones they work for, is Crix. And so that's great. Anytime you want, you can just include them in an army. You can't include them in tier lists unless they're included there, when I don't think they are included in any Crix tier lists. But here's the real negative. So you have to look at the wording of feats and tiers, spells and stuff, because some spells and feats and other stuff that are worded that they work on friendly faction, whereas other stuff say friendly. And so for my part, where on Striker 2's feat, he says that all friendly faction models can move 3 inches and take another attack, well, there's nothing stopping me from taking Nis Hunters in my list there. However, I have to keep in mind that in doing so, they are not going to take part of that feat. They are friendly, but they're not friendly faction. So luckily, a lot of stuff in Crix doesn't really care about friendly faction. It's just friendly. So you should be able to get away with a lot of that stuff. Plus, I mean, natural debuffs, say like if you're looking at Denegra and looking at her crippling grasp or parasite or her feet, you know, anything just makes the enemy worse. I mean, then it doesn't matter if it's friendly or friendly faction, they're still going to get the same benefits going after that stuff. So, but that's really where it comes down to, is that whole friendly versus friendly faction. And then, of course, remember that tier lists are a whole nother thing on their own. So, few people watching. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'll be jumping back and forth. Next one from John Tailby saying, have you ever considered taking a caster character conversion? Yeah, making a caster character conversion like Super Orc. Maybe Super Kane or something like that. One Adepticon limited edition models with the Naughty Wilder. You know, it's something that it'd be nice to do, but it's way harder to do. Take a drink. In War Machine. When it came to my Orcs and Goblins, there are so many kits, and I had so many extra bits. Man, I might have to call this one short. Keep on my nose going crazy. But there's, whenever you get a kit of Orcs and Goblins, there's always like a bajillion weapons, and you don't need to use everything. And so that's where you start developing your bits box. And when you want to do conversions, you just grab whatever you need from your bits box and off you go. Well, in War Machine, it is very rare to get extra pieces. Luckily, they still have a system where you can bits order extra stuff, but it's fairly limited. So given that, it's kind of hard to do those type of conversions. Plus, since you don't have the option of actually customizing your character, because like whereas in Warhammer Fantasy, you can pick what weapons they have and what armor and blah, 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 what mounts they have, and then you can just get really into that converting there. That's just not the case in War Machine. In War Machine, the casters are what they are, the weapons they have is what they have, and although you could do stuff like get rid of Kane's guns and change them up with some other guns as long as they're comparable, it's just not the same flexibility. I suppose if I ever did do the Trollkins, where I was going to do them like an Orc army, so I'd be painting up all the trolls green, I would be giving them, the idea was to convert them all to have Orc heads until I saw how hard to do it with the heavies. But as well, I mean, Madrak I thought would work very well as a Super Orc, because he's like, rah! And so you just got to put him up as a put a cape on him, and then put him up on a flying base, and he'd work fairly well. So that was like an idea that you could do, but again, whereas for your infantry, doing head swaps might be kind of easy on some of the models, and other ones, they're pewter, where the head is like right in there, and so trying to cut that out is a lot of work. The heavies all of a sudden have heads that are just bigger than the Orcs, and as well for trolls, they have like rocks growing out of them all over, so you have to file that down, and it's not as easy as what I'm trying to get to as in Warhammer Fantasy. Oh, this one is dead. Some of these ones, I just got a brand new white, and I'm going to need to get new skin because this one got stuck open, and now it's dead. So luckily I'm not painting anything that's human because my flesh is toast. All right, next question from Bill Ellis. With Warriors of Chaos, what, in your opinion, would be a good way to take on Ogre Kingdoms? With kind regards, Ben. You know what, Ben? I have a hard time answering that because I know the new End of Times book came out. I'm sure there's new lists you can make with Chaos, new special characters, and honestly, I don't know, man. It is really hard to say. I mean, take your Nurgle Demon Prince, run it into the big block of ogres, and then just kill stuff. You know, that'd be the big thing. I mean, your usual thing of like Nurgle Demon Prince, go, Purple Sun, get into list, you know, kill until we're done killing. You know, that normal thing. But I really can't do too much because the game has changed to a point, especially with Chaos, that all I know is that they've changed, and I don't know anything new from their book, and so I'm sorry, but I just can't really give very much more than that. Next question, John Telby again. Are there any factions that you would not collect because either you don't like the model aesthetic or because of the rules? For that, it's Retribution. For a while, I tried to make myself like Retribution, mainly because they were just so rare. Right, you don't see them anywhere, and so I was going to try and start them up because then I could be different and all that stuff. Take another drink. And another, like I said, someone's going to die from this drinking game. I'm going to go back to hospital tomorrow, maybe. But I forgot what I was talking about. But the main thing is I just could not get with the look of the Retribution models. And so because of that, I just stayed clear. I was like, nope, can't do this, and didn't touch them. And so, yeah, I mean, that's really it there. If a faction had good rules, but you didn't like the design of the models, would you collect the faction? And again, luckily for Privateer Press, that's not a big issue. I mean, everything is fairly well balanced. And so I don't need to make that decision. But even if I did, I mean, let's say, for argument's sake, that Retribution was way, way better than all the other factions. Would I play Retribution? Probably not. You know, I would rather play a different game than force myself to play something I just don't like the look of. You know, jeez. It happens sometimes where there's the odd model in an army that I don't like and I use because it's good, but you know, that's a small case, right? That's a one model out of the whole army. It's a whole different, you know, thing to try and just say like, oh, okay, I really hate the look of these guys, but I'm going to play them all the time. You know, like that's a whole nother level. Basin's Basement Games. This is my buddy Josh. What do you feel is the biggest challenge when playing competitively in our local meta? In our local meta, the biggest issue we have here is, sorry guys, two main casters, Butcher 2 and Lilith 2. They really change the way that you have to prepare for meta. Lilith 2 really means that you always have to have a way to deal with this stealth caster. You can't just take a regular list that shoots because they'll just beat you. You can't take a normal thing with elites because they're just going to shoot you down. You really have to have a list just to deal with them. At the same time, you have to deal with Butcher 2's tier list and all the Doom Reavers, which is also very popular in our meta, and again takes a whole different type of list. For Lilith 2, I need to have a list that just swarms across the board, like go, 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 tie up the beast, let's win by scenario. If I do that against Butcher 2, these guys are going to come in with Berserk and just kill me, right? Like, it's not going to work out for me. So that definitely is a real problem. And a lot of times, all you can do is hope to dodge. The Butcher 2 is probably the one you're going to plan to dodge because it is less frequent, and as well less frequent in the top tables. So for that reason, that's why you'd want to kind of say like, okay, we'll plan for Lilith 2, but you always have to have in the back of your mind, what am I going to do if I do end up going up against mean old Butcher 2? I'm just going to... There we go. Hopefully that way of muting is going to work better. All right, we have a couple that are watching here. We have Derek Neal saying, any advice for someone interested in starting out with convergence, other than don't start with convergence, which is my usual advice. That's tough because I'm not exactly a convergence player, but my advice for that is, first of all, realize that you're going to have to dedicate in the money. The Prime Axiom is a very popular model to have in there, so just be ready that you very most likely will have to get the Prime Axiom. So take that $100 whatever dollars and say, I'm going to need to have this. Past that, really kind of see which way you want to go with it, because it seems to me the two types of main lists they run are ones that are really based around the Prime Axiom and or ones that are based around recursion. And so you're probably going to need to get two of those, you know, scary face bots that are going to be recurring your guys back. And then you're going to need to get your shield wall guys, you know, your heavy infantry, you know, reciprocators, I think they're called. I don't know. I'm not a convergence player. But the biggest thing is to then look at what are they going to be your big casters. Luckily for you, you don't have a lot of casters to pick from. And, you know, Syntherian is a starter box one. He is very decent, so that's really nice. So, I mean, the starter box is a good one to go with. I don't know if they plan to do an all-in-one convergence box, but if they do, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, really looking to Father. Father is the one that everyone agrees, for the most part, is the #1 convergence. So you should probably be starting off with Syntherian and Father Luke as being your two first casters, and then kind of going up from there. Thomas Mertens, how do you feel about the orc big character becoming the incarnate of Beast? Don't remember what his name is. I don't know, man. I'm not up with the new Fluff with fantasy, so this is news to me. So go ahead and let me know what it is all about. But, you know, to me, this whole thing with the fantasy Fluff, like I kind of explained before, is they're kind of going like, blah, blah, everything's dead, restart. And so I'm more interested not how things are ending, but how are things are going to restart, right? So that's where my focus would be more, right? Like if somebody had to me two pieces of paper, and one says, oh, these are all the ways that the Fluff is going to end for the orcs and goblins, and this one's about how it's going to start, I'm going to read the one of how it's going to start. All right, going back to the ones that were here before from Prezimek Rozeski saying, hey, Mr. Malorian, today I would like not to ask you about something, but rather to give you one suggestion, a suggestion about your War Machine 101. There's one thing just great for that type of content, and it is, as I call them, rules traps. For new players like myself, there are several things that are very surprising in the beginning, like casters can't cast spells if they were running so often in first turn. They are just charging to get the +3 movement, or a rule where you can attack or target your own models, what is strange for a former fantasy player. That's a good point. I'm sure there are many others that I don't know about, and these are just examples that I read online. I hope that you'll answer to that. Cheers from Poland. Cheers. Yeah, I mean, I have been kind of lacking on the War Machine 101. I mean, one main reason is because I found there actually is another channel called Party Foul that is really big into this. Plus, I'm having a hard time organizing the way that I want to do this. I've also been having trouble uploading lately. I did a battle report, like I said, with Chromac and Borka, and it's just not going up. For some reason, it's not uploading, and I've had a lot of problems lately, but I definitely need to get back to that. I need to get back to my Warcaster review. I really think the Warcaster reviews are a better benefit to new players than these War Machine 101s, but I really have to start hitting both of them. And like you say, some of these things aren't really just like, these are the rules, but these are the rules that you don't expect. Might be a good one to hit on, so good input. Ryan Winter is here, and he is asking me, I think the mic is just for show. No matter how good the mic, should have heard you pick it up. Audio didn't change at all. Not sure if your webcam or laptop have a mic that is picking up the audio. That could be it. For the longest time, I did have it set up so that my Logitech HD 1080p webcam that I'm using here was what I used for sound. And then I picked up this Blue Yeti to get better sound. And one of the problems that sometimes always wants to default back to this. Now, I thought I had changed that so it goes to this. Let's see. Can you hear that tapping? If so, this is working. If not, it's over here. Here, I'll tap this now. So I don't know which one of those ones you heard, but then he can tell you which one's working. I could check this later as well. But it would suck if this wasn't working, because this was kind of an expensive mic. Next question here. Thomas Martin saying, the incarnates are like avatars of each of the losses. Grimgore, maybe? Don't have the book in front of me. You know, it makes sense to me that Gork or possibly Mork would come down and incarnate themselves into one of the special characters. Again, I'm looking forward for Fantasy, right? Like, this part to me of Fantasy is done. I am looking forward to 9th. So I really have no comments there. Next one here from Ginu1234, which is, hey, Mr. Malorian, I just bought the Legion of Everblight starter and asking myself where I should go from here. I'm planning on playing with Lilith 1 for a while, learning the ropes, and really just getting down to the stats of my beasties. Where did you start with your Legion? Can you recommend some models to complement what I already have? When you were new to the game, how long did it take you before you jumped straight into the tournament scene? And yeah, and thanks from Josh. So first thing here is really talking about where to start. Like, where did I start with Legion? When I started with Legion, I got the regular starter box, the one that's just the $50 thing. Then I also just picked out a bunch of beasts. Later on, I picked up the 2-player one to get some more stuff as well. But it was really just that starter box with Lilith 1 and then buying the beasts because I really love the beast look for Legion. And then I also picked up the Raptors. Now, the Raptors were awesome, and for the most part, I didn't get into solos and units until much later. Then I kind of begrudgingly got Striders and a Shepherd and blah, 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 until in the very end where I was playing Callus and just loved infantry. I was going crazy with them. So can you recommend some models to complement what I already have? Well, if you're going with Lilith 1, here's the thing. You can get models that will really jive with Lilith 1, but I would be getting models that work with her, but also work with a lot of other stuff. Most people do not stay with Lilith 1. They'll be branching out to many other casters. And so you want to make sure you don't do something like I did and get 2 units of Raptors and then learn later, oh no, I can only use one of these forever. So, you know, you want to really make sure that you get what you're going to be using. So some of the things might be like, go and get another heavy, get a Scythian, get a Ravagore. You know, these things you will be using in other armies. Shepherds are something you're going to be using all the time. A Succubus might be nice. A Forsaken could be a good idea. Striders would be a really good idea. Something that I like with Lilith 1 is Typhon. Again, you don't always take Typhon, though, in a lot of other lists, so that's one of those like, you know, if you're really, really into Lilith 1, it's a great beast to have. And he's no Proteus or anything, corner case like that. He's a good beast, but just know that buying a Scythian and a Ravagore will do a lot more for you in the long run. And then when I first got into it, I really quickly just jumped right into it. I'm one of these guys that said, okay, Let's play a battle box game. Okay, these are the rules. Let's play another one. Okay, these are rules. Okay, wait a second. I'm going to buy 3 heavies. Let's bring up these points. Okay, let's get up to 25 points. Okay, play. Okay, I'm going to go buy some more stuff. All right, now we're at 50. Let's get into this. And I really ramped up my points really quickly and started learning the game. I mean, I was getting my ass kicked, especially because the guy that I was playing with was messing up a few things. But it was a really good way to learn the game. And then going along with that, as soon as I could, I got to a tournament. Once I got to make 2 50-point lists, I started going to tournaments, started going to events, and that way I could learn, right? That's really where you get to test yourself. It was great that the buddy, Sean, was training me in the beginning and was teaching me the game, but you can only learn so much from one player. You need to go out there, you need to see all the other armies, all the other casters, all the other play styles, and see the whole spectrum of players, right? There's going to be bad players and there's going to be amazing players. And you need to go and practice against them. And you got to know that when you go to a tournament, it's not like you're just going to get punched in the face. You might lose every game, but it's not like you're going to be hitting those top players every single time. If you lose your first game, well, you get paired down with other people who also lost. And eventually, I mean, after your first 2 games, you are really kind of now at the level that you should be and playing people of roughly the same skill level. So yeah, as soon as you can get into the tournament scene, I would do that right away. I am getting no painting done. Next question coming from Warpstone. Hey, yeah, I recently transitioned from fantasy to War Machine. Welcome. And I fell in love at first sight with Retribution for 100 different reasons. I'm more of a casual player that likes to paint, but I'm curious about how Retribution performs competitively and what you think of them. Greetings from Sweden. We got it from all over the world today. All right, so like I said, Retribution is really rare. Now, if you were to ask this question a few years ago, it would be like, yeah, Retribution, they're the main faction that sucks. There's factions like Minions who aren't really like a full faction, but Retribution is one that Privateer Press put forward as a main faction that just did not do well because they had major gaps in their model spread. Now those gaps have been filled with their Colossal, with the Thane, and all the stuff where now they can actually deal with stealth and all the rest of it. Now they really are a force to be reckoned with. Now, how do they do competitively? They don't do well, and that's mainly because they're not being taken. They still have a few less top casters than some of the other ones do, but that's not to say that they can't do well. There is a local guy who plays Retribution. He doesn't always play, but when he comes out, you know he's going to do fairly well. He knows his Retribution like the back of his hand, and he's going to go there and he's going to surprise people. Because a lot of people, since they don't play against Retribution, they get surprised by it. And in this game in War Machine, when you get surprised, that's usually when you lose. All of a sudden they'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't know that Jack did that. I didn't know that this did this. And it's a really big deal. For example, in one of my games, I was kind of going around with my Nis Hunters, thought everything was fine. And then it turned out that this one Jack shooting at me had like this crit consume. And bam, they're all dead. And so a little mistake like that, it's like, wow, I didn't understand how this worked. And it was a really, really big deal. If you don't know about the whole feet and go type thing, or if you don't know, man, they don't have the same type of like super surprises, but they definitely have their tricks. Okay, next one here, Lord 17C. Do you feel that focusing on one game at a time is best? I'm sorry, guys. I'm just my throat is really killing me. I really don't want to have to put off these Paintisodes until this goes away, because the last time I had this, it lasted months, and I'm trying to fight through this. Do you feel that focusing on one game at a time is best, or should you dabble in other games as well, mainly when you are preparing for a tournament or some such? Definitely, normally, you should dabble in other stuff, because if you are focused on the same thing all the time, you will burn out and blah, blah, blah. But if you are preparing for a tournament, you need to focus. Whereas a lot of time you want to be varying out your list, trying different things and learning. Well, that was more preparing to set up for the tournament. Now when the tournament is in view and you have your list made, you need to play those lists over and over and over again to make it so that you're not going to make any simple mistakes like I did and forget the feat. And things are going to be a lot easier. So when it gets to the game, it's like, okay, I've played this before. I know what to do. Oh, I know not to do this. And definitely, it's not like it has to be 100%. If you want to dabble like in one game with something else, sure, whatever, have fun. But definitely focus on what your tournament lists are going to be to make sure you get that perfection. I think I'm going to give up on painting. This is really killing me here, guys. This is going to be kind of a grinder to get through this. Rob VD Velden. Hey, Mr. Mallory, I have been a long-time viewer of your channel when it was for fantasy. Now I'm looking into Warm Hordes, and I was thinking of all-in-one army box for trolls. Is it a good box to start with? And could you tell me something about the playstyle of trolls? First of all, it is a great box to start with. It has a lot of things that you're going to want anyway. And the thing is with these new all-in-one boxes that the Privateer Press is making is that you can't go wrong. They're at such a discount that even if you buy them and then don't really fall in love and sell them, you're going to be making your money back. So it is a win-win. So if you have any inclination towards one of those boxes and you see it on a shelf, just buy it. As far as the troll playstyle, in general, because again, like all the factions, there's lots of different ways to play. In general, troll bloods are all about kind of the brick. A lot of their things kind of buff each other inside of a bubble, and when you have those type of effects, everything kind of sticks together. And so they don't really like scenarios, say like incursion, which is forcing you to spread out. They like things that are all together. They can just move up as a brick and kind of grind through it. Now, a warning with this is that when you're playing a grind style list, it's really going to take a lot out of you. You know, they're not going to be, it's not like with Lilith 2. It's like, okay, turn 2, I'm going to defeat and win. It is no, we are going right to near the ends of our death clocks. We are grinding and grinding and grinding. And when you're done your game, you're going to have almost no break until the next game. So do know that going into trolls. Again, there's different, you could play a ranged troll list if you really wanted to. That is now a lot more possible with the new little gun guys that had come out. But yeah, you know, just be prepared for that. They run like a block. Christopher Murphy says, Malorian, have you read any War Machine fluff? I have read some. I mean, every book you get that has the fluff in there. However, I quickly realized I didn't need to buy the books because all the rules are on the cards or on Battle College, so I don't bother with them anymore. What are some good books to read? And the best ones to read is going to be the ones from Mark 1. I've only read ones from Mark 2, but I'm being told by a lot of people who are longtime gamers that the very best fluff was written back in Mark 1. And if nothing else, I mean, the way that this is designed is that the stories build on each other. And so if you want to know why there's this animosity between Kruger and Morvanna, you know, start from the start and work your way up, right? Do you have a Facebook page to share our paint jobs and modeling with you? I don't have a Facebook page, but you could email it to me. I'm just at malorian99@hotmail.com. I did have Chance Encounter sending a picture to me of a Tau devilfish he was working on, and that's great to see, right? I always love hearing what you guys were painting during the Paintisode, and so to see it is even better. Clearly, it's an hour, so it's not like it's Golden Demon, but it's good to see, like, wow, that's great that during this, he got this done. So if you guys ever want to email stuff to me, that's great. Do you know of any interesting tactics for a Gator Scorn player versus Khador or Legion? Gator Scorn player versus Khador or Legion. Well, one of the things that can be for Legion is Legion usually has a shooty list. Say like Lilith 2 or something like that. So, I mean, if you do a run up against Lilith 2, Barnabas is nasty, right? Because Barnabas says, oh, you have Isle of Sight? I don't care. I'm inside my pools. You just can't target me. So that's a really big one there. as well as Rask just saying, hey, you know, it has nothing to do with Isle of Sight. If you're outside of 5 inches, you just can't shoot me. So that's another big one. That also goes really big with the combat casters because, hey, sure, Vale, you might have a very long threat range, but like with Rask saying, hey, if you're outside this range, you just can't charge me. So they do have some stuff there. Storin, I can't really comment too much on. Versus Kador, man, Kador is kind of sneaky. Well, if they're doing the Doom Reaver spam, now you got your good old Sacrivolts, and you can just do that and be invincible. Otherwise, I can't really think of anything sneaky that you do against Kador. It's just the usual get in there and kill stuff. So, sorry, not a lot I can give that one. What do you play War Machine with friends? Do you point out better moves to make while you play, or is it better to tell them after they've made them to improve the playstyle? Take another drink. It really depends on the situation and the skill level. So, for example, if it's in a tournament, no way. Oh, sorry, there's a little thing that said mute. I'm all freaked out now. Ever since the last show where I muted my mic for like half an hour, I'm like, always looking out for it. But anyway, like I was saying, if it's in a tournament, I'm pretty much not going to tell them. If they mess up in a tournament, it's their thing. When it comes to more casual games, again, it has to come down to more the skill level of the opponent. If I'm up against one of my very strong player friends, I'm not going to say, oh, you're doing something dumb, because it could be that he's actually trying to do something that I don't even realize. So I won't make any mention. However, if I'm up against more of a new player, I'll say, okay, you can do this, but just so you know, you could do this as well. Like, oh, you could just come and attack me to kill me to get me out of the zone, or why don't you just try slamming you out of the zone? Then just one hit and it's all over. So I am more like that. Even in tournaments, sometimes I've done that too. Say, I want to be looking like really nice, like, oh yeah, I help everyone. But for the most part, when it comes down to our tournament, I do get a little bit more cold-hearted is maybe the thing. I was like, well, no, that's it. But even then, you know, I had a game in a tournament where I'm up against a very strong player, and he forgot to allocate focus on the first turn. And I'm like, whatever, do it. So it also depends on the thing like that. I guess that's just more of a thing where you forgot, as opposed to you're saying a better move. And in that case, I would never be telling him, like, oh, don't do this because you could totally kill me this way. I guess the only way I might do that is if I was losing the game and I just want the game to be over. So it's like, oh, man, I'm just attritioning down. Now I just got to play for another half hour and get my ass kicked until he's finally done. You know what, buddy, if you do this and this and this, you can assassinate me. Like, I could see me doing that. But it's more of a thing for the casual games. Anyway, Last Russian Emperor. How do you feel about the idea of a grand reset in fantasy? Well, I think I just did a big video on that, so go check out that one, the end of the end of times. I remember one of your old videos explained how earlier editions were had a ton more unit options. Example, Orc Boys with halberds and such. Well, yeah, so I really am hoping that this is going to be like a new 52 where they're going to completely revamp fantasy, and a great way for them to go is stuff like with those options, where back in the old books, you got to really build your units however you wanted. If you want your orcs with great weapons, go ahead. Orcs with slings, go ahead. You know, you just, here are the points, do whatever you want. For your bosses, you want to put them on chariot, go ahead, here's the points. Griffin, here's the points. Dragon, here's the points. It is really just do whatever you want, here are all the points to make it happen. And I mean, it's great for GW because people are converting like crazy to make these things that there's no kits for. In order to do that, they're needing to buy more stuff. You know, if I want to have great weapons on orcs, well, I'm going to need to have some extra bits from other places, and I'm going to be needing to buy more kits to do that. Again, GW would be in a better spot if they ran their own tournaments, so they could have a rule like Privateer Press. I believe the rule of Privateer Press is at least 50% of the model has to be the original model, and something like that where it has to be, you know, Privateer Press and blah, blah, blah. They should really get back to that so they can enforce it. Otherwise, it'll be a thing where, oh, great, orcs can now have great weapons, and you also have all these other companies making great weapon little extra kits, and then GW doesn't really get anything from that. Although I guess that's also a lie, because at the very least, people will be buying extra orc kits to be doing the converting in the first place, but GW is not going to do that anyway. Last one here, Lord 17C. Also, what do you think are must-haves of mercs and minions that are out there? So I'm going to assume that we're talking about when you're taking mercs and minions and other units. So for minions, it really is the Bellower crew. It is the Gator Posse, Tinkerer. Those are the big major ones. I'm not sure if Pendrake is one. That's another possibility. But the feral guys can even make it into there sometimes too. Depending what you play, I mean, you could say the Sacravault is a good one for Legion. As far as mercenaries go, for your solos, you're looking at things like Gorman. Anastasia is really big. The Ogren Bokur is a really big one. Madame Corbeau. Orin Midwinter. Iris, mainly Epic Iris. Let's see who else we got back there. I think that's the main ones for solos. Dougal could be another big one. Reinhold. Unit-wise, it's a lot more limited, where you are looking at Nis Hunters and Boom Howlers. I think those are the two big mercenaries you'll be looking at for unit-wise. Iana and Holt, that would be another one. I mean, mercenaries are a lot more fleshed out than minions, so it's going to be like that. But otherwise, that's all the questions from the video I put out last Sunday. Ryan Winter says, Party Foul is doing good beginner content. Newer channel on YouTube to check out is Gearwig. Haven't heard of them. I'll have to go check those guys out. Does beginner style videos like the VH1 pop-up videos. That should be interesting to check out. And otherwise, that's really it. We got a little bit more time to make this an hour, but my throat in here, it's been tough trying to get through this, guys. I really want to go through this because, like I said, the last video got screwed up. So for those wondering why it's a day late and blah, 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 it really is that. I really hope this doesn't get worse, because it could be a thing where I can't do Paintisodes for a while, because, I mean, talking for an hour is a little bit tough. But either way, thanks for those who watched and listened to me cough all the time through. You probably went through like 7 beer by now. But yeah, I would love to hear what you guys painted. So post that down below. As well, if you had any other questions you want me to touch on that can't really wait to the next Paintisode, go ahead and post them on here and I'll come back to them. And otherwise, let's see, where I get for my painting. You know what? I got to do one more color, because at the very least, I can take the, you know, the lame way out of saying I got 3 colors. So this is my Belarus crew now, which is green and brown with some primer showing. And I really want to make it so I can at least say I got 3 colors on it. So I'm going to paint the tube, the little tube that goes from the little nozzle and to the little bag. I'm just going to paint that so I can say I got 3 colors. You know, and sometimes, you know, I know this is kind of like lame and it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's totally painted now. But you know what? It's better than it was. And if you just do these little tiny things like, oh, I'm just going to do one more color, I'm just going to do one more color, you just get that much farther ahead. So that next time when I do decide I want to come back to this, you know, I'm just that further along. And you know, this might be one of these models that sits here on my workbench, and maybe each time I come here, I just do one color. But if I do that one color for, you know, X number of visits, it's going to end up done. So there's his tube done. And then I'll do it to this guy, and I'll be a happy man. I'll be like, yep, good job. It was good to see when I did that paint or donate, the guys that I listed all did something. So Tom Carter from Hobby Night in Canada He painted a model, a Vanguard. My brother, he donated, so that was great. I guess he was thinking of donating anyway, so he wasn't actually all that upset. And then also there was my friend Jack, and he also donated. So there you go. You know, I felt a little bit bad because I didn't donate. I took the easy way out and just painted. And it was good to see that. I mean, even though I did that, after you make the challenge to some more people, you know, some money got to some good places. So there you go. If I was taking these guys to a tournament, I now got 3 colors. Oh yeah, totally tournament legal. And I mean, even this looks better on the table, right, guys? So either way, that's now a lot closer to making this an hour. Sorry again for all the coughing, but at least you got something painted. Post down what you painted, and we'll catch you next time. See you guys.